Many secular people value justice and compassion, and participating in interfaith social justice work is one way to put those values into action, while also improving the image of the secular community. Samuel Jackson, Group Starting Specialist for the Secular Student Alliance, is a graduate of The Ohio State University, where he studied philosophy and was president of the Multicultural Understanding Through Non-Traditional Discovery Opportunities organization, or MUNDO for short. Being introduced to many different cultures and their ideas had a profound impact on him during his college years. It also provided a greater appreciation and sense of respect for diversity. Agnes Vishnevkin became involved with HCCO in 2012. Soon after, she moved to Columbus, and she currently serves as the vice president of the Board of Trustees. Agnes holds an MBA in nonprofit management from Brandeis University and has over 10 years of experience in the nonprofit sector. In her free time, Agnes enjoys spending time with family and friends, exploring the trails of Columbus parks, and practicing self-reflection. So let's give a warm welcome to both of our panelists.
Thanks, Eric. So like Dirk said, I'm Samuel, and I've been involved with a lot of different cultures, especially during my tenure at OSU. And I grew up in a Christian home, but I started dabbling in multi-faith and multi-religious and sort of like New Age type stuff, and I eventually became an atheist. So I'm already sort of interfaith with my my life history, and it's not just with respect to religion. Also, I used to be a conservative and a Republican, and now I'm a libertarian, which probably to half of you in the room is probably worse. So like lots of different changes in my life, and when it comes to things like interfaith, those are differences that I think matter. Not like, skin pigmentation or the height or weight or things like that when we normally talk about diversity, but like interfaith, what your belief systems are, those are like relevant aspects of diversity for me. So during my tenure at OSU, I was very interested and involved with interfaith type things. So before I get into that, my history, I want to make a distinction on the types of knowledge. There are two kinds, not only two kinds, probably more than that, but just one distinction that I wanted to make. One type of knowledge is sort of book smart knowledge, factual knowledge. So you could, if you're an intellectual type person, you probably could comment on absolutely any topic, whether it's the war in Afghanistan or, I don't know, the cat of King Henry the Great or something, I don't know. Anything, you can comment on absolutely anything. The other type of knowledge that I'm actually more interested in, I'm not really interested in book smart knowledge, but I'm interested in theory or perspective. So like I don't necessarily want to know about data, but I'm interested in knowing perspective. So I want to know what it's like to be a woman, or what it's like to be in the Middle East and poor or something like that. And that kind of knowledge, I think, is something that you can get from an interfaith sort of involvement, if you're interested. So, going back to my OSU experience, Xenos Christian Fellowship, it's one of the many Christian groups involved on campus, around campus at OSU, and I remember being involved with it. I was actually involved with this group twice, 2 different times, long story. The second time I was involved, I would always be invited to one of their home churches, and they would try to convince me to convert and, you know, accept Jesus Christ and all that. And I would always respond with logic and reason, and so there was a stone wall. But there was a very clever person who decided to take a different sort of route. I was already familiar with the group, and this group gets along. Like, everybody knows everybody's name. They're all dating each other. And also, you know, you have to understand, it's like a liberal sort of Christian-ish, at least on the outside. You're allowed to curse, you're allowed to smoke and drink and, like, wear punk rock clothing and stuff. So it's very attractive to, I think, youth. But at their core, they're very conservative. So I was asked by one of the members there, like, hey, look around you. We all get along. There has to be something that we have that, you know, that explains our, you know, our togetherness and our fellowship. And I knew exactly what the argument was, and I responded, I'm not impressed because you all agree. You all, you know, believe that you're going to see each other after you die, and I'm not impressed by people who get along when it's groupthink. So it's not impressive. I said I would be impressed if you had the same fellowship with people that you didn't agree with. Then I would actually be like, oh, you have something that I want. Interestingly enough, I experienced this very thing with another group I was involved with at OSU a couple of years prior to that. So the Students for Dialogue is what they're called. And they are, well, it was a group started by international students from Turkey, actually. And the group was fantastic. I mean, it's ultimately, the image implies, a sort of interfaith-y type group. And we went to the group went to many places. That's me, and the group had the Sikh temple, actually, where I gained a great appreciation for that religion. And I recall one moment when I was invited to some of the members' house for dinner, and we were just talking and laughing and just getting along. And for a split second, I completely forgot about our differences and I was just connected with them. And it was an experience that I'm not going to forget, because I think it's something more special, like when you get along so well with people that you don't necessarily agree with, than when you get along with people you do agree with. So yeah, I think that kind of experience is possible with Interfaith. Moving right along. So I was the president of MUNDO, Multicultural Understanding Through Non-Traditional Discovery Opportunities at OSU for a year. And the group is interested in service a lot, and community service and multicultural understanding. And every time we would travel somewhere, we traveled to Chicago and LA, New York, we would always go to some sort of center that where we would complete some sort of service project or something. For instance, when we went to LA, we went to the food bank. But I noticed that I didn't feel like volunteering at the food bank was a very rewarding experience, so much as at that same city, we went to a place called Homeboy Industries, which is a nonprofit that is dedicated to rehabilitating people who are involved in gang activities. And they do things like tattoo removal, and they give them different skills that they can go out into society and contribute to the world again. And like going to the Homeboy Industries and hearing about the stories of these people and their lives and, you know, very personal details was life-changing. And every time we would go somewhere and I would learn about someone's stories and someone's perspective, it would change my life. And so the reason why I'm telling you all this is I think that our stories are powerful and it can change other people's lives and can completely change perspective with respect to how people see atheists, humanists, whatever label you want to call yourself. So the actual volunteering was rewarding, but the real value that I got was learning about different people. So with regard to the New Atheists and the New Atheist movement, obviously the quotes I have up there are oversimplifying these men, and this is not an accurate description, obviously. But when people from the outside are looking into us, this is what they see, because these are prominent people and very popular people within the movement. And the things that they say, even if it's taken out of context, even if, you know, it's not representative, that's the perception that people have. And it's not, I do give them credit, obviously, because they did give atheists a voice where they once didn't have one. But it's becoming, I think, more of a problem than a positive, because it's limiting our voice, and it's not allowing for diversity within our own community. As a response to that and understanding the need for change in that regard, we see different people stepping up, like Chris Stedman and other atheist interfaith activists. So just reading that quote: "I now reclaim faithist if such a label insinuates that I am interested in both exploring godless ethics and identifying and engaging shared values with the religious and putting faith in my fellow human beings and our shared potential to overcome false dichotomies that keep us apart." I agree with that. I wrote a blog on the Interfaith Youth Corps website that talked about how humans have much more in common than the tiny little things that we use to divide ourselves, like emotion and volition and things like that. I mean, if you had the choice between giving up your feelings of love or not believing in God, like, which one is more valuable to you ultimately? So I didn't read the Faithiest book. I read a few chapters, but you get a guise of what he's trying to say, and I put a few bullet points up there. Chris says that we can use interfaith activism to challenge negative perceptions of ourselves, our movement, our person. The more that atheists are involved in interfaith, the more the language of interfaith will change to reflect that there are atheists involved. And the reason why it's probably sounds exclusive is because we're not involved in the first place. So we probably should change that. Being involved in interfaith activism and community service shows that we're not just interested in facts, but that we're interested in social justice and actually improving people's lives. And it also takes back the representative power of the new atheists. They should not be the only ones representing they're just a couple of people representing millions. That's not right. So, putting that into effect, the SSA actually went to the 3rd Annual President's Interfaith and Community Service Campus Challenge. There were 4 organizations involved with that, including the U.S. Department of Education and the White House. So, at the right, that's a screen grab of the Drudge Report website. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's a conservative website. And Matt Drudge put atheists invited to interfaith meeting at White House, which is kind of funny. But this is exactly the kind of change that we need to see. Even it sounds like it's a contradiction, but actually on the website, on whitehouse.gov/interfaith, whatever it's called, the president does continually, like he says multiple times, that people, non-believing people, can be involved, should be involved, and he has that welcoming language, and so I think it's important to sort of respond to that in kind and be involved, because yeah, all the reasons that I said so. A couple of worries. It is possible for groups to abuse the platform and use an interfaith space to evangelize. So you do have to pick and choose where you're going to do interfaith work. And also there is concern about if you're going to enter an interfaith space, does that mean that you are compromising your identity and your metaphysical truth at all? And I think that that's not necessarily the case. Just as you're not expecting the Christian to become an atheist because they're meeting up with you, or the vice versa should be true. But I mean, I don't know. I guess that's a legitimate worry, and yeah, I guess that's all I have to say.
We'll do questions afterwards, but thanks a lot.
Good presentation.
Thanks a lot, Sam. That was really great. Thanks for coming out. I definitely learned a lot. So I'm going to follow up on what Sam was talking about by talking about how we can take steps in this direction locally, and what is a great local, what I think is a great opportunity for us to get involved locally with interfaith work, and specifically with interfaith social justice. Now, so many secular people value justice, compassion. So many people shared that today. And the humanist community of Central Ohio definitely puts that into action. And we've been hosting blood drives. We volunteered at soup kitchens. We've worked side by side with people of faith. Recently, we collaborated with the First Unitarian Universalist Church right down the road, as many of you know. Over the past 2 years, we worked together on the Flying Spaghetti Monster spaghetti dinner that they hosted. And each year it raised over $2,000 for the Mid-Ohio Food Bank and several hundred pounds of food. So it's something we've been doing, and this mirrors a national trend with secular individuals and secular communities being involved in this work, helping make the world a better place. But you know what? There's still a widespread myth that atheists, they just don't care about helping others, and that if you don't have religious belief, you just don't have morals. And it's just the unfortunate, thing that we're working against. And so interfaith social justice, participation in interfaith social justice for secular people can really work against this myth of the immoral atheist, because we'll be seen by our neighbors, our community members who have faith, who maybe don't know about atheists, seeing that we have morals and that we care. And another great thing about interfaith social justice is that by working together with other groups, we can achieve results far greater than anything that we can do here on our own. And so I want to introduce BREAD. BREAD stands for Building Responsibility, Equality, and Dignity. It's an interfaith coalition that mobilizes religious congregations and their members to work on social justice issues right here in Columbus. Right now, they've been around for about 18 years. Right now, they have over 50 congregations, majority of which are, churches, Protestant Catholic churches. There are a few synagogues, and the First Unitarian Universalist Church is one of their largest members. And so BREAD calls on people of faith, people of all faith traditions, to come together around the shared goal of working for social justice. It's a bit different from what Sam talked about earlier. They don't have a big focus on fellowship, but they do look at coming together around the shared goal to make positive changes and get results in our communities. BREAD's efforts over the years have brought many positive results for Columbus in areas like education, economic development, juvenile delinquency, public safety, housing, and many others. So how do they achieve all these results? They start by identifying community problems, then going ahead, doing a lot of research, and identifying evidence-based solutions that can be implemented here at the local level. And finally, they pressure local officials to implement these solutions that they bring to them. The main way that they exert this pressure is through their huge event that happens once a year. It's called the Nehemiah Action, and it's a rally at the state fairgrounds. This is what it looks like, and there are many people who didn't even fit in the picture. In the distance, you can see a little stage. And so at this event, public officials are invited to make a public commitment to take the specific steps, just to stand in front of all these people. And the size of the turnout really shows the number of people of faith who are concerned and demand action on social justice issues. Each congregation commits to bring as many people on this day as attend church on an average Sunday. And last year, the number of people who turned out, 3,268. So that's very precise, and BREAD is really great at organizing people and at counting them, because this is a numbers game. This is the number that's shared with public officials. This is a number that gets printed on the front cover of the Columbus Dispatch the next day, along with the names of people who did not come, the public officials who declined the invitations. We're going to get them next year. So they have a very good count of how many people came on behalf of each congregation. Here are the tickets. You can see they're multicolored. It's a huge box of tickets that's getting ready to be distributed. Each church gets a certain color ticket, has the name of the church on it, and to enter the rally, everyone gives their ticket, and then next week they count, and they know how many people came. That's how they know. So that's kind of how it works. This year's rally is coming up on May 12th. They're working on having even more people. They're hoping for 4,000 people this year. And the big goal that they've been working on the past year is mental health care. And they did a lot of research, and the system is so over capacity and so far below providing effective care for people in need of mental health care. As just one example, is that the number of inpatient psychiatric beds in Central Ohio is less than 20% of what's needed. And people who need access to be admitted to a hospital can wait up to 5 days for a psychiatric bed. That's someone in crisis. And so BREAD is going to push to implement evidence-based solutions, and they're right now in the process of, getting public officials to come out on May 12th. So let me tell you about my experience and, what's been happening there. So my husband, Gleb Tsapersky, who many of you know, we found out about BREAD last year, and we found out through the First Unitarian Universalist Church. As many of you know, we're members there. For those of you who are not familiar with Unitarian Universalism, is their symbol. It's a religious movement that's not Christian, even though it kind of sounds like it is. And it's a movement that welcomes people of various religious beliefs and people without beliefs. And these are the kinds of people you can find there. There's a huge contingent of humanists and atheists and an active atheist club at this congregation. So when Gleb and I found out about the rally, we decided that's a great way and an easy way. You just come out one day, to help be a part of this difference, of this change, to put our values into action. So this is where we were sitting last year. Still kind of far. So, we knew that BREAD was an interfaith, is a faith-based organization, but we were truly not prepared for the experience. Many of the people who spoke at the podium used extremely religious language. Some of them didn't, but it wasn't easy to hear. We kept telling ourselves, we're there to make a difference. It wasn't easy, but the thing that made it really hard is not just what people were saying, but what we saw in the program. And I'm going to show you. This is the program that everyone gets when they enter, and there's a program of all the events. And very near the top, there's a little box, and it has some text, and this is a part of what it says. Each of our congregations believes something different about the nature of God, the name of God, about what God wants us to do. But each of us shares a commitment to pursuing justice in God's name, to finding in the things we share the strength that unity can bring. So as you can see, it was a little hard to read that because, people can come up to the podium and say all sorts of things, depending on, the kind of church they come from or synagogue. But this is the message that's supposed to bring everyone together, that's supposed to unify us. And we felt excluded. So a few days after this event, we talked about it, and Gleb went ahead and contacted First EU leaders just to share our concerns. We're just, one among 3,000 people, but, we wanted them to know how we felt. That we felt very excluded by this official statement, and it's exclusive of many other people. So many Unitarian Universalists are atheists, secular humanists, and so many are like pagans and everything else. So how did everybody else feel? And, we got a very quick response from the ministers and the leaders of, who lead the bread effort. And they were supportive and understanding. We were glad to hear that. And they actually forwarded our concerns to the bread leadership. But, but they also told us that while they understand that any change is very unlikely, it turns out that members of First EU Church have been voicing these kinds of concerns for the entire existence of bread for the past 18 years. And they were not met with any kind of response so far. In addition, if there's any kind of change, there's a very significant risk that some churches might leave the coalition. And since it's such a numbers game, everyone knows it. It's a really big risk. So you can imagine our surprise when several weeks later, we actually heard from a bread staff member who wanted to meet with Gleb and I and to learn more about our concerns. And so Sam just mentioned conversations that change your life. That's a conversation that changed our life. It was really amazing to find common ground with a person of faith and really start with him kind of not really knowing about what's behind our concerns and walk away with him accepting and agreeing with us. We shared that we as secular people want to have an opportunity to join with people of faith to achieve these results. And that bread's faith-based structure represents structural discrimination against people without religious beliefs. And that is a social justice issue in and of itself. We just do not have a seat at the table that involves only religious congregations. And that allows the stereotype of atheists as immoral to be perpetuated. Secular people want an opportunity to contribute to bread's good work and to help our community. We can't do it on our own. We want to participate. And we shared about the humanist community of Central Ohio, a growing secular community of people who care about social justice, who want to put our values into action. And we have the numbers. We are as big as some of the small churches that are members of Bread. We talked about a future. Let's imagine sometime down the road that HCCO can join Bread openly and officially, just like all the other churches, and to have our own turnout, to get our own tickets, and to be openly counted as secular people who care and who want to take a stand. It was really a very meaningful and moving conversation. It was really great. But we didn't know whether anything would change. This guy's just one person. So, some time passed, and a few months later we received an email that Bread approved official language to the text that actually appears in the box on the programs. And so this is the change that they made, and it's in blue. So now that portion reads, each of our congregations believes something different about the nature of God and the name of God. But each of us shares a commitment to pursuing justice guided by our faith, to finding in the things that we share the strength that unity can bring. So now the door is open for us. Now we can start to see ourselves in this unifying message. The faith in humanity, in other humans, like Sam was referring to, faith is to Chris Stedman. Faith in potential. faith in change. And so we knew that this was a huge step for Bread, and they really took a risk. And they must have, agreed with us and really felt that this was the right thing to do. So what happens now? Now it's time for us to step up. It's time for us to take action. And I invite all of you to come out and join me on May 12th at the Nehemiah Action, to stand side by side with people of faith and to be counted. We are going to be counted for the first time in 18 years of Bread's existence. Secular people will be counted. Remember about those tickets, right? Here they are. And here are the tickets that we're going to use. We're going to once again collaborate with the First Unitarian Universalist Church. So this is the ticket, the date of the event, the church, my name, as I will be distributing all the tickets to the secular community who are not church members. And the church has encouraged us to identify us, and so there's the Humanist Community of Central Ohio stamp. So at the end of the event, we will be counted. We'll be counted as First UU, and we will be counted how many people came on behalf of HCCO. And we will have a first ever count of secular people being involved. So you should come, bring your family, bring your friends, bring your kids. There will be childcare. Dress up your dog. No, don't dress up your dog. Don't record that. So, but it's the truth. It's a numbers game, and everyone knows it. The more people we bring, the more clout we will have to work for further changes, and towards that future that we can all imagine. So I will be distributing these tickets starting today. I have a whole bunch with me, and in the coming weeks, a month from now is the meeting on Monday, May 12th. And so all of you who turn out, and anyone else that we can turn out to this event, will be making a huge difference. We will raise our profile as secular people who put our values into action. Raise our profile not just within Bread leadership, not just within Bread, but as you saw in the article that came around, the Columbus Dispatch wrote up just the fact that this change was made as soon as they found out about it. So the media is interested in these kinds of stories. As far as the national secular movement, Foundation Beyond Belief is very interested in closely following our progress here, and they will be writing it up following the Bread Nehemiah rally, and they will be promoting it to other secular groups. So we will raise our profile. We will stand side by side with people of faith to fight for real results in areas such as mental health. We will challenge the assumption that religious belief is necessary for those who want to work for social justice, and we will shatter the stereotype that atheists are moral. Thank you very much.